Within hours of the Harrison couple's disappearance, $47 million vanished from their business accounts. For 26 years, investigators assumed Richard and Margaret had staged their own disappearance to steal the money. But when hikers found a buried cache in the Nevada desert in 2024, they discovered the terrifying truth. The Harrisons hadn't stolen anything. They had been silenced before they could expose who did. December 14th, 1998, Austin, Texas. The Harrison estate in the prestigious Westlake Hills neighborhood was one of the city's most valuable properties. Richard Harrison, 52 years old, was a successful entrepreneur who owned 3 thriving technology companies in Austin's growing tech scene. His primary company, Harrison Technologies, specialized in advanced software development and had contracts with several major corporations. Margaret Harrison, 48 years old, was a former fashion model turned philanthropist who had become a central figure in Austin's charity circuit. She organized high-profile fundraising events for children's hospitals and educational foundations. The couple had been married for 25 years and were considered Austin's power couple, frequently appearing at social events and business gatherings throughout the city. That evening at 7:30 p.m., the Harrisons had dinner with their closest friends, the Thompson family, at Capitol Grill, one of Austin's most exclusive restaurants. The establishment was known for hosting the city's elite and business leaders. Jessica Martinez, their regular waitress, remembered serving them that night and noted they seemed completely normal and relaxed. Richard discussed his company's upcoming software projects and new contracts they were pursuing. His tone was enthusiastic and optimistic about the future. Margaret talked excitedly about a charity gala she was organizing for the following week to benefit Austin Children's Hospital. She had been planning the event for months and expected to raise significant funds. The conversation with the Thompsons lasted nearly 2 hours and covered typical topics: business ventures, upcoming social events, vacation plans, and mutual friends. Jessica observed nothing unusual in their demeanor or conversation. They appeared to be the same happy, successful couple she had served dozens of times before. At 9:45 p.m., the Harrisons said goodbye to the Thompson family and drove home to their mansion. The estate's sophisticated security system captured them, arriving in Richard's silver Mercedes-Benz. Richard was driving, while Margaret sat comfortably in the passenger seat. This footage would become the last confirmed sighting of them alive. The next morning, December 15th, at precisely 8 a.m., housekeeper Maria Santos arrived for work as she had every weekday for the past 12 years. Maria had developed a close relationship with the family and knew their routines intimately. She typically found Richard in his study, working on his computer, and Margaret in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. The front door was locked, and the security system was armed, exactly as it should be. Maria entered using her key and disarmed the system with the code the Harrisons had given her years earlier. But immediately upon entering, she sensed something was wrong. The house was eerily quiet, lacking the usual sounds of morning activity. In the dining room, Maria discovered 2 crystal wine glasses sitting on the mahogany table, each half filled with red wine. The expensive Bordeaux had been left untouched since the previous evening. In the living room, the marble fireplace contained the remnants of a fire that had burned down to cold ashes, suggesting it had been left unattended all night. The television was still on, tuned to CNN with the volume barely audible. Maria found this particularly strange because the Harrisons never left the TV on when they went to bed. Every detail suggested the couple had been interrupted while relaxing at home and had left abruptly without their normal nighttime routine. When Maria climbed the stairs to check the master bedroom, she found the king-size bed perfectly made and clearly unused. The couple hadn't slept in their bed the previous night. The walk-in closet doors were open, and Maria immediately noticed several items of clothing were missing, including Richard's favorite black business suit and Margaret's preferred travel dress. The master bathroom revealed more concerning details. Both of their toothbrushes were gone, along with Richard's shaving kit and Margaret's expensive skincare products. It appeared they had quickly gathered personal items as if packing for an unexpected trip. But Maria was certain they hadn't mentioned any travel plans, and Richard always informed her when they would be away from home. Growing increasingly worried, Maria checked Richard's home office. His desk was neat and organized, but his laptop computer was missing. This was particularly unusual because Richard typically left his work computer at home when traveling for pleasure. Margaret's daily planner and journal were also missing from her usual spot in the sitting room. At 9:30 a.m., Maria's concern turned to alarm, and she called 911. "My employers are missing from their home," she told the emergency operator. "There are strange things here that don't make sense. They left food and drinks out. The fire was still burning, but they're nowhere to be found." Austin Police Department's first response team arrived at the Westlake Hills estate at 10:15 a.m. Detective Sarah Chen, a 15-year veteran specializing in missing persons cases, took charge of the initial investigation. Her first impression was that the Harrisons had left their home in a hurry, but she found no evidence of forced entry or foul play. Every door and window was secure and undamaged. The sophisticated alarm system had functioned properly throughout the night without any triggers or alerts. There were no signs of a struggle anywhere in the house. Valuable items, including jewelry, cash, and important documents, remained untouched in the home's safe, ruling out a simple burglary. Detective Chen's attention was particularly drawn to the fireplace ashes. Forensic analysis later revealed that the fire had been burning around midnight and continued until morning. However, mixed with the wood ashes were remnants of burned paper documents. Someone had deliberately destroyed paperwork, but what documents and why remained a mystery. The estate's advanced security system provided crucial evidence. High-definition cameras had recorded the Harrisons' activities throughout the evening. At exactly 11:47 p.m., footage showed Richard and Margaret calmly walking out their front door, each carrying a small overnight bag. Their body language suggested they were keeping a planned appointment, not fleeing in panic. They appeared relaxed and purposeful as they got into Richard's Mercedes and drove away. The exterior cameras couldn't determine which direction they traveled after leaving the gated community. Detective Chen immediately issued an all-points bulletin for the vehicle and began coordinating with state and federal law enforcement agencies. At 2:30 p.m., the breakthrough came when Richard's silver Mercedes was discovered abandoned alongside Interstate 35, approximately 50 miles north of Austin near the town of Round Rock. The car had been meticulously cleaned of fingerprints and personal belongings. The keys were left in the ignition, and the gas tank was full, suggesting whoever left it wanted it to be found. Detective Chen and her team immediately secured the scene and began examining the surrounding area. A 24-hour gas station called Pump and Go Market was located just 200 yards from where the Mercedes was found. Chen hoped their security cameras might have captured something useful from the previous night. The gas station's surveillance footage proved invaluable. At 12:30 a.m., the cameras clearly showed the Harrison couple arriving in their Mercedes. Richard parked the car while Margaret waited nervously nearby. They appeared to be waiting for someone, frequently looking around as if expecting another vehicle to arrive. After approximately 10 minutes, a dark-colored SUV pulled into the gas station. The lighting and camera angle made it impossible to identify the vehicle's make, model, or license plate clearly. Two figures could be seen inside the SUV, but their faces weren't visible. Richard and Margaret approached the SUV, briefly spoke with the occupants, then got inside and were driven away. Jerry Walsh, the overnight gas station attendant, remembered the incident clearly when questioned by police. The 35-year-old college student worked part-time to help pay for his education. The Harrison couple came in looking really nervous, he told Detective Chen. They kept looking around like they were scared of something or someone. Walsh explained that the couple didn't enter the store or purchase anything. They simply parked and waited. When the SUV arrived, they quickly got in and left. The whole interaction lasted less than 15 minutes, but Walsh remembered thinking it seemed strange and secretive. Within 48 hours, the case took a dramatic turn when the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit became involved. A routine audit of Harrison Technologies' business accounts revealed that exactly $47 million had disappeared from 3 separate bank accounts. The transfers had been initiated in the early morning hours of December 15th, just hours after the couple's disappearance. The money trail was sophisticated and complex. Funds had been moved through a series of offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, then transferred to Swiss banks, before finally disappearing into untraceable cryptocurrency accounts. This level of financial manipulation required expertise far beyond what a typical white-collar criminal might possess. FBI agent David Torres, a specialist in complex financial crimes with over 20 years of experience, took control of the investigation. Torres had worked hundreds of embezzlement and money laundering cases throughout his career. The sophisticated nature of these transfers immediately suggested this wasn't a simple case of a couple stealing from their own company. Torres began conducting detailed interviews with Harrison Technologies' 3 primary business partners. James Mitchell, 45, served as the company's chief financial officer and had worked closely with Richard for over a decade. He managed all of the company's banking relationships and financial operations. David Park, 38, was the chief technology officer responsible for overseeing all software development projects. Linda Roberts, 42, handled marketing and client relationships as the chief marketing officer. All 3 claimed to be shocked by the Harrisons' disappearance and insisted they had no knowledge of any financial irregularities. However, Agent Torres's trained eye noticed that James Mitchell seemed unusually defensive during questioning. His answers appeared rehearsed and overly detailed, as if he had prepared for these specific questions in advance. Torres decided to investigate Mitchell's personal finances more thoroughly. A deep dive into Mitchell's banking records revealed suspicious activity over the past 6 months. Despite earning a substantial but not extraordinary salary as CFO, Mitchell had made several large purchases, including a new Porsche, a vacation home, and expensive jewelry for his wife. These expenditures far exceeded what his legitimate income could support. Torres summoned Mitchell to FBI headquarters for a more intensive interrogation. During this second interview, Mitchell's story began to fall apart under pressure. Phone records showed he had called Richard Harrison at 10:30 p.m. on December 14th, contradicting his earlier claim that they hadn't spoken that evening. When confronted with this evidence, Mitchell finally began telling the truth. For several years, he had been systematically embezzling money from Harrison Technologies through false invoices, manipulated expense reports, and unauthorized transfers. What had started as small amounts had gradually grown into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Richard Harrison had recently begun noticing discrepancies in the company's financial records and was conducting his own investigation. On the evening of December 14th, Mitchell had called Richard requesting an emergency meeting. They met at the company offices late that night, where Richard confronted Mitchell with evidence of his theft. Mitchell had begged for mercy and offered to repay everything he had stolen, but Richard was adamant about involving law enforcement. "I'm calling the FBI," Richard had declared. "This is felony embezzlement. You're going to prison." Desperate to avoid prosecution, Mitchell had gone to the Harrison estate that night, hoping to convince Margaret to change her husband's mind. However, Agent Torres remained skeptical of Mitchell's confession. The story contained significant inconsistencies, particularly regarding the complex international money transfers worth $47 million. Such sophisticated financial manipulation was far beyond Mitchell's capabilities as a company CFO, suggesting other parties were involved. In 1999, James Mitchell was convicted of embezzlement and second-degree murder charges related to the Harrison disappearance. He received a 12-year federal prison sentence. Despite extensive searches, the couple's bodies were never recovered, and the stolen $47 million was never traced or returned to the company. The case was officially closed, but many questions remained unanswered. How had Mitchell managed such complex international transfers? Why was there no physical evidence of the murders? Where were the bodies? Over time, media attention faded, and the Harrison couple gradually slipped from public memory. 25 years passed. Austin transformed into a major technology hub, attracting companies and entrepreneurs from around the world. The Harrison mansion was sold to new owners who were unaware of its dark history. Life moved on, but the truth remained buried in the Nevada desert. March 2024, the Mojave Desert, 120 miles northeast of Las Vegas. Kevin Martinez, a 34-year-old software engineer from Los Angeles, was enjoying a weekend off-road adventure with his friend Brad Thompson. Kevin had recently purchased a high-end Garrett AT Pro metal detector and was eager to test it in Nevada's old mining areas. They had been searching for historical artifacts or old mining equipment when Kevin's detector suddenly emitted a strong, persistent signal. The reading indicated a large metallic object buried approximately 3 feet underground. Excited by the possibility of finding something valuable, Kevin and Brad began carefully excavating the area. After about 30 minutes of digging in the sandy desert soil, Kevin's shovel struck something hard and metallic. They uncovered a waterproof stainless steel case, roughly the size of a briefcase. The container was heavy and appeared to be professionally manufactured. There were no identifying marks or labels on its surface. The case was secured with a sturdy lock, but Kevin managed to open it using tools from his multi-tool kit. Inside, they discovered a collection of documents carefully preserved in plastic Ziploc bags to protect them from moisture and desert conditions. Most shocking of all was a Polaroid photograph sitting on top of the papers. The photograph showed 2 people standing in what appeared to be a desert landscape. On the back, someone had written in blue ink, December 22nd, 1998, along with 2 names, Richard and Margaret Harrison. Kevin immediately recognized the Harrison name from the famous 1998 disappearance case that had captivated Austin when he was growing up there. Brad began examining the documents while Kevin studied the photograph more closely. The papers included bank statements, signed contracts, handwritten notes, and what appeared to be official government correspondence. But the dates on many documents were impossible. They were dated after the Harrison couple had supposedly disappeared. Kevin immediately called the Las Vegas Police Department. "We found documents related to an old investigation," he explained to the dispatcher. "It's from 1998, the Harrison disappearance case. I think the FBI needs to see this immediately." The Las Vegas PD contacted the FBI, and within hours, Agent Sarah Morrison was en route to Nevada. Morrison was a 20-year veteran specializing in cold cases and had heard of the Harrison disappearance during her training at Quantico. The emergence of new evidence after 26 years was extraordinary and potentially case-changing. Morrison arrived at the site and carefully examined each document. The bank records appeared authentic and bore what seemed to be Richard Harrison's genuine signature. However, the dates were deeply troubling. Many were from December 15th, 16th, and 17th, 1998, after the couple had vanished. The Polaroid photograph was even more perplexing. It clearly showed Richard and Margaret Harrison, but the background was definitely Nevada desert, not anywhere in Texas. Most disturbing was the date. December 22nd, 1998, 8 full days after their disappearance. If they were dead, how could this photograph exist? Among the documents were handwritten notes and what appeared to be Richard's writing. Margaret and I are no longer safe. Mitchell was just the beginning. The real danger comes from a much different source. They will find us eventually. I'm hiding these documents because the truth must come out. Mitchell was a small fish. The big fish is still free. This note completely contradicted the official narrative that had led to Mitchell's conviction. If Richard had written this after their disappearance, it suggested they had initially escaped but were being pursued by someone else entirely. The implications were staggering. Morrison contacted retired Agent Torres, who was living in Florida. During their phone conversation, Torres shared doubts he had harbored for decades. Mitchell's story had never completely added up, but FBI leadership had pressured him to close the case quickly due to political sensitivities surrounding Harrison Technologies. Torres revealed crucial information that had been omitted from official reports. Harrison Technologies wasn't just a commercial software company. They held classified contracts with the Department of Defense, developing advanced encryption software for Pentagon communication systems. Richard Harrison had top-secret security clearance and worked on projects vital to national security. If these encryption technologies fell into enemy hands, it could compromise America's military communications worldwide. The FBI's counterintelligence division had been monitoring the case closely, and pressure from Washington had led to the rushed conclusion that painted Mitchell as the sole perpetrator. Morrison returned to Nevada with a professional forensics team equipped with ground-penetrating radar. If the Harrisons had been murdered in the desert, there might be more evidence buried nearby. The team systematically scanned the area around where the cache had been discovered. On the second day, the radar detected another significant anomaly approximately 50 meters from the original site. This buried object was larger and deeper than the document cache. The team began careful excavation, treating the site as a potential crime scene. Their discovery was both heartbreaking and crucial to the case. Buried in 2 heavy-duty plastic bags were human skeletal remains. The bones were well preserved due to the dry desert climate, and initial examinations suggested they belonged to 2 adults who had been deceased for approximately 25 years. The remains were immediately transported to the FBI laboratory in Las Vegas for comprehensive analysis. DNA extraction and comparison would definitively determine if these were Richard and Margaret Harrison's remains. The forensic anthropologist also looked for evidence of how they had died. 3 weeks later, the DNA results provided absolute confirmation. The skeletal remains belonged to Richard and Margaret Harrison. After 26 years, the couple had finally been found. But the manner of their death told a chilling story about their final moments. Dr. Rebecca Adams, the forensic anthropologist, identified clear evidence of gunshot wounds on both skulls. The injuries were consistent with professional execution-style murders, single gunshots to the head designed to kill instantly and efficiently. This wasn't a crime of passion or amateur violence. Morrison began reconstructing the timeline of events. The Harrisons had left their Austin home voluntarily on December 14th to meet someone they trusted. They were driven to Nevada, kept alive for at least 8 days based on the photograph date, then executed professionally and buried in the desert. Returning to the original case files with fresh perspective, Morrison noticed that Mitchell had briefly mentioned a third person being present during his confrontation with Richard Harrison. This detail had been glossed over during the original investigation, but now it seemed critically important. Morrison arranged to interview Mitchell in federal prison. After 26 years of incarceration, the now elderly man seemed ready to finally tell the complete truth. His health was failing, and he expressed remorse for allowing the real perpetrator to escape justice. I wasn't alone that night when I met with Richard, Mitchell confessed. There was a CIA agent there. His name was Robert Kensington. He claimed Richard was violating national security protocols by sharing classified information with unauthorized parties. This revelation changed everything. Mitchell explained that Kensington had been investigating Harrison Technologies as part of a counterintelligence operation. Richard had denied the accusations and threatened to report Kensington to FBI oversight for harassment and abuse of authority. Kensington had panicked because Richard's threats could expose his own criminal activities. For years, Kensington had been selling Harrison's encryption technologies to foreign intelligence services, earning millions of dollars as a double agent. Richard's internal security review was getting dangerously close to uncovering the truth. Realizing his exposure was imminent, Kensington made the desperate decision to eliminate Richard and Margaret Harrison permanently. He coerced Mitchell into silence by threatening his family, then arranged to lure the Harrisons to Nevada, where he could kill them without oversight. Morrison immediately began investigating Kensington's background. He had retired from the CIA in 2001 after a 23-year career in various covert operations. Since retirement, he had been living an extraordinarily lavish lifestyle in Florida, despite having no apparent income source beyond his government pension. Property records showed Kensington owned multiple expensive homes, luxury vehicles, and had made numerous high-value investments. Bank records revealed millions of dollars in deposits from untraceable offshore accounts. The wealth accumulation pattern was consistent with payments for selling classified information. In December 2024, federal agents arrested Robert Kensington at his Florida mansion. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, espionage, money laundering, and conspiracy. Given the severity of the charges and his flight risk, the federal judge denied all bail requests. James Mitchell was released from prison just before Christmas 2024 after serving 26 years for crimes he didn't commit. The federal government issued a formal apology and approved a substantial compensation package for his wrongful imprisonment. Agent Morrison held a press conference to announce the case resolution. Richard and Margaret Harrison were true American heroes, she declared. They died protecting national security secrets from a traitor within our own intelligence community. Robert Kensington betrayed his country and murdered innocent people to hide his crimes. The Harrison couple's remains were transported back to Austin with full honors. They were buried side by side in Westlake Hills Cemetery. Thousands of people attended the funeral service, including former business associates, FBI agents, and Austin community leaders who wanted to pay their respects. James Mitchell attended the funeral and spoke at the graveside. "I blame these good people for 26 years, he said through tears. Fear kept me silent, but their memory deserves better. I'm sorry it took so long for the truth to come out." Harrison Technologies was rebuilt under new management with strict ethical oversight. The company resumed its classified government contracts with enhanced security protocols. The Austin technology community established the Richard and Margaret Harrison Technology Center to honor their legacy. A small monument was erected in the Nevada desert at the site where the couple was discovered. The inscription reads, "Truth prevailed here." Kevin Martinez and Brad Thompson, the hikers who made the initial discovery, sometimes return to pay their respects at the site. The Harrison case is now taught at the FBI Academy as a crucial example of how internal corruption can destroy innocent lives. It demonstrates the importance of thorough investigation and the dangers of rushing to close politically sensitive cases. Investigators are now examining Kensington's entire 23-year CIA career to identify other potential victims of his treachery. Preliminary evidence suggests he may have betrayed numerous operations and personnel during his time in the intelligence community. Austin has slowly healed from the 26-year uncertainty surrounding the Harrison disappearance. The resolution brought closure to a community that had never forgotten the beloved couple. Truth proved to be liberating, allowing the city to properly honor their memory. Morrison is approaching retirement after a distinguished career, but the Harrison case will undoubtedly be remembered as the pinnacle of her investigative work. Sometimes a single case defines an entire career, and this case exemplified the pursuit of justice against overwhelming odds. Visitors regularly leave flowers at the Nevada Monument. Unknown mourners, justice advocates, and curious tourists all pay tribute to the couple's memory. Their story has spread far beyond Austin, inspiring people worldwide who believe in the power of truth. The Harrison couple's final message resonates across decades. Truth always surfaces eventually. Justice may be delayed, but never permanently denied. Love triumphs over evil when good people refuse to give up the fight. This is no longer a forgotten story. It has become a remembered story, a celebrated story, an inspiring story for future generations. Justice was delayed for 26 years, but it was ultimately served. Morrison's closing statement to the media captured the case's significance. Justice may be delayed, but it is never defeated. Truth may be buried, but it always surfaces. Love may be tested, but it always endures. The Harrison story has become part of American justice folklore. It represents courage defeating corruption, truth defeating lies, and love defeating hate. Their legacy lives on in the improved security protocols that protect other families from similar tragedies. Every year on December 14th, the anniversary of their disappearance, Austin holds a memorial service. The Richard and Margaret Harrison Foundation organizes the event, bringing together families of missing persons, law enforcement officials, and community leaders. The service reminds everyone that some mysteries can be solved even decades later. The foundation has also funded advanced DNA testing technology that has helped solve numerous cold cases across Texas. Margaret's passion for helping children continues through scholarships provided to students pursuing careers in forensic science and criminal justice. Kevin Martinez and Brad Thompson have become unlikely heroes in the true crime community. Their weekend metal detecting hobby led to one of the most significant cold case breakthroughs in FBI history. They continue to search Nevada's desert, hoping to help solve other mysteries. The case has inspired new legislation requiring better oversight of intelligence operations. The Robert Kensington Prevention Act mandates regular polygraph tests and financial audits for personnel with access to classified information. Congress passed the bill unanimously in 2025. Harrison Technologies now operates under the Harrison Integrity Protocol, requiring all employees to undergo extensive background checks and regular security reviews. The company has become a model for ethical business practices in the technology sector. Dr. Rebecca Adams, the forensic anthropologist who examined the remains, has written extensively about the case. Her research on desert preservation of human remains has advanced forensic science significantly. The Harrison case study is now standard curriculum in forensic programs nationwide. Agent Morrison received the FBI Director's Award for Excellence in Cold Case Investigation. Her methodical approach and refusal to accept the original conclusion led to justice for the Harrison family. She has since consulted on similar cases across the country. The Nevada Monument has become an unexpected pilgrimage site for those seeking justice for their own lost loved ones. Families leave photos, flowers, and personal messages. Park rangers report that visitors often spend hours at the site, finding comfort in the Harrison story. Mitchell's wrongful conviction has sparked discussions about prosecutorial pressure and the dangers of rushing high-profile cases. Legal scholars cite the Harrison case when advocating for stronger protections against false confessions and inadequate defense representation. Kensington's trial revealed the extent of his betrayal. Prosecutors presented evidence that he had sold secrets to at least 4 foreign governments over a 15-year period. The damage to national security was estimated in the billions of dollars. During sentencing, Kensington showed no remorse for his crimes. He maintained that he was a patriot who had been unfairly targeted by the government. The federal judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The CIA has implemented new safeguards to prevent future Kensington-style betrayals. Regular financial monitoring, psychological evaluations, and peer reporting systems now protect against insider threats. The agency credits the Harrison case with preventing similar tragedies. Austin's technology sector has grown exponentially since the Harrison case resolution. Companies cite the Harrison Integrity Protocol as a major factor in choosing Austin for their operations. The city's commitment to ethical business practices has become a major economic advantage. Margaret's charity work continues through volunteers who carry on her mission. The Harrison Foundation has raised millions for children's hospitals and educational programs. Her legacy of compassion lives on through the lives she continues to touch. Richard's encryption technologies, once stolen by Kensington, have been recovered and secured. The Pentagon has implemented new protocols based on lessons learned from the case. Military communications are now safer because of Richard's sacrifice. The case has been featured in documentaries, podcasts, and true crime television shows. Each retelling emphasizes the importance of never giving up on finding the truth. The Harrison story has reached millions of people worldwide. Students at the University of Texas study the Harrison case in courses on ethics, criminal justice, and business leadership. Professors use it to teach about integrity, courage, and the consequences of corruption. The lessons learned extend far beyond law enforcement. Morrison often speaks at conferences about cold case investigation techniques. She emphasizes the importance of questioning initial conclusions and following evidence wherever it leads. Her Harrison case presentation is requested at conferences worldwide. The desert site where the Harrisons were found has been designated as a historic landmark. The state of Nevada recognizes its significance in advancing forensic science and bringing justice to cold cases. Future generations will learn about truth prevailing over deception. As the sun sets over the Nevada Desert Monument, the site remains peaceful and dignified. The Harrison couple finally rests in eternal peace, their truth told, their justice served, their love honored by all who remember their story. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Their courage will continue to inspire investigators, lawmakers, and ordinary citizens who believe in justice. Their love will endure forever in the hearts of those they touched and the lives they saved through their ultimate sacrifice. Sometimes, even after 26 years, buried truth surfaces from the desert sand. Hidden justice emerges from the shadows. Lost love is honored by those who refuse to forget. This is the eternal promise of forgotten stories. The Harrison story proves that no story is truly forgotten, no truth permanently buried, no justice permanently denied. Good ultimately triumphs over evil when people refuse to stop fighting for what is right. Forever remembered in Austin's heart. Forever honored at Nevada's monument. Forever inspiring those who seek truth and justice. This is Richard and Margaret Harrison's eternal legacy to the world.